Hi, my name is Anna Grace Kelly, and I'm a senior here at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Growing up, my parents would always ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? For a while, my answer was professional basketball player. Then I found out I would be 5'4", and so my answer changed to eye doctor because I really loved my eye doctor and thought that she was very nice. But no matter what my answer to that simple question was, they would always ask a follow-up question, and they would ask, how is that going to help you make the world a better place? And a lot of the time I couldn't answer that question. A lot of the times I would have to sit there and think about it, but to them, it didn't matter how much money I was going to make. It didn't matter where I was going to end up. It only mattered that I used whatever platform I had in my life to make the world a better place and to make someone else a better person. And that question that I got asked over and over as a child just changed the trajectory of my entire life. So I grew up here in Chapel Hill with 4 younger brothers. So as mentioned before, I loved to play basketball. There was a lot of backyard football. The house was never quiet. And so in middle school, I used sports kind of to define me. I became known as the girl who hung out with all the guys and was a really good athlete. And that kind of set me apart, but I didn't mind. I actually liked that. As I started kind of growing up a little bit more and as I entered high school, I started to become more of the person that I am today and started to dream bigger about how exactly I was going to answer that question that my parents asked me about how I was going to change the world. And I started getting involved with some local nonprofits. My mom actually does a lot of work with both local and global nonprofits. And so when I was a sophomore in high school, she took me on one of the trips that she goes on very often, and she took me to a little city, or actually a town outside of Nairobi, Kenya, called Thika. And that experience absolutely wrecked my world. I saw poverty unlike anything I had ever seen before. I saw people my age and younger as a 10th grader selling their bodies just to provide for their kids. I was completely wrecked by this experience. And so when we got back home, my mom explained that on a previous trip, there were a group of women who approached her on the street. And this was not uncommon, but my mom said that their requests were very unique. They didn't ask for handouts. They didn't ask for money. They asked mom to invest in them. Basically, they were engaged in survival prostitution, and they wanted to change their lives both for themselves and for their children. And so they just wanted a little bit of help starting their own businesses. They had laid out all of these business plans. Some wanted to open up a grocery store. Some wanted to develop an artisan group. Some wanted to make jewelry. And so my mom had been inspired by these people, and she wanted to take me on this trip to kind of show me their world. And then when we got back home, she asked me if I had any desire to help her in her endeavor to actually help these women. And I automatically just said yes. And so what we ended up doing took a lot of time, a lot of effort. We started talking to different donors, but we actually launched a 501c3 called Street Hope Foundation. And it's grown tremendously. It's been an awesome opportunity for both us and for the women engaged in the program. And there's been a lot of success stories of these women just absolutely changing their lives from living on the streets and not having anything and having to sell their bodies to feed their children to actually becoming just great members of society and launching their own businesses and becoming self-sustaining and keeping that tradition in their family and then being able to pass down that business to their children. So it's been awesome, but through that process, I developed my own passion. I figured out that I have a passion for helping people, specifically women, who have become marginalized by society. And not only kind of in the same way that my mom was surprised when these people didn't ask for money, but asked basically for empowerment. I have a passion for empowering other people to then to change their own lives and create their own success stories. And so I started kind of developing that passion in high school, and it transitioned over to when I came to college, and I kind of broadened my scope. It came time for me to decide what to do the summer after my junior year, which I'm in the business school here, and so that summer is notorious for being one of the most important parts of your college career, because the internship that you have after your junior year often turns into your full-time job. So I was torn as I started thinking about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to prepare for what I was going to do upon graduation. And so I ended up kind of doing two things. The first half of the summer I spent working at a nonprofit that has done some work with Street Hope called Mercy House Global in Houston, Texas. And then I spent the second half of my summer in a management consulting role with KPMG in the Atlanta office. And so through that experience, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about what I wanted to do and how I was going to contribute to society. And I learned that even though right now I have this burning desire to help others and to fight for the marginalized in society, I still have a lot to learn by myself, or for myself. And so I decided to, upon graduation, I decided to accept an offer from KPMG to join their management consulting practice, because while I was there, I felt challenged every single day. The hours were long. Everyone was extremely intelligent and successful in their own right. And so I've decided that I want to learn from them for however long I end up there, and just soak it all in, become the best version of myself, and then eventually go back to the nonprofit sector. And I will continue to do work for Street Hope as I have throughout college. If that doesn't work out, or if I decide that I want to get back into nonprofit sooner than later, then I always have that avenue. But either way, I can confidently say that throughout my journey, both growing up in Chapel Hill, going to school in Chapel Hill, and then my summer elsewhere, I've learned that I do have a passion for helping the marginalized in society, and that I want to use my life to give back in any way possible.